When I started playing rugby, it was all about me. That was the start, and then it was survival. It's easier to get 3% out of everyone than 30% out of yourself. You don't have to be someone's best mate to respect what they're trying to do. You need that key thing that's going to motivate you to do those things that other people are not willing to do. When you have children, your game will go to the next level. You'll be more efficient with your time. I haven't put my life on hold to achieve what I wanted to achieve with rugby. I managed to have a family. What they were teaching me is take that time, slow down, be grateful for what you've got. I learned pretty quickly to read body language. If I got it wrong, the outcome might have been 2 extra penalties against us. That's the difference between winning and losing a game.
My name is Kyla Colbin. You're listening to my interview with Sam Whitelock, and this is the Hunger and Heart Podcast. Enjoy the show. Hello, my name is Kyla Colbin, and welcome to episode 16 of Hunger and Heart, the podcast on the intersection of wild ambition and fierce compassion. Before we begin, a huge thank you to everyone who has gotten in touch with feedback on the podcast, whether that's been via email, via the comments, via carrier pigeon, smoke signal, whatever. I am so grateful for your feedback. If you have something to share with me, please do reach out. You can reach me on hello@kylacolbin.com. Also, if you are enjoying the podcast, the number one thing you can do to support it is like, subscribe, follow, hit that notification bell. All of those things help us get better guests on the pod and help us make a better production for you. Thank you so much in advance. My guest today is Crusaders and All Blacks legend Sam Whitelock. Sam was the fastest player ever to reach 100 international appearances. He was the youngest New Zealander to reach 100 tests, and he is one of just 44 men in the world to win a Rugby World Cup more than once. In this conversation, we talk about how his father deliberately cultivated Sam's rugby intellect, the real reason he's obsessed with body language, and the trick he would use to get the most out of Israel Dagg. So, here you are, my conversation with Sam Whitelock. Welcome to Hunger and Heart. What's your experience with wild ambition and fierce compassion?
Yeah, hello, thank you. It's great to be on the podcast. I think it's a great question that you pose. The first thing that comes to mind is they have to go hand in hand because you can't do it by yourself, but at the same time, you need that really key driver, that key thing that's going to motivate you to do those things that other people are not willing to do.
So I want to start with your history and experience. So obviously you've accomplished at the highest level of world rugby. How did you think about balance, obsession? How did you think about care for yourself and others while you were also striving for this massive global accomplishment?
Yeah, really challenging because trying to achieve some certain goals and some things that I really wanted to achieve. And rugby is almost a selfish sport. You've got to put yourself first, but as we know, the world is not that way because you have, parents, brothers, sisters, children, partners, wives, husbands, etc. So it's trying to work out the balance of it. And it's something that I did not get right at the start. When I first started playing rugby, it was all about me. Once I kind of got a little bit higher and got into university, met my now wife, and at the stage it was actually really easy because of just her and I spending time together. I could actually prioritize that being sport over a lot of things. And she was doing her own thing. She was studying at uni, so she was busy. She had time to do her thing, and she had a really good balance. As things evolved and grew, we obviously got married, had children, and that's where it gets really hard and complicated because some days you've just got to go, look, I'm sorry, the kids are sick, and I've just got to walk out the door and go do my rugby thing. And at times it makes it harder because of it, but that's one thing that I'm really proud of is I haven't put my life on hold to achieve what I wanted to achieve with rugby. I managed to have a family and do a lot of that as it all unfolded. So a massive amount of it that praise has to go towards Hannah, my wife, because at times she was a single mother. I'd be away for, big chunks of time come home for only a couple of days, and I get to do all the cool things. The kids want me, not Hannah. I can get in there and wreck the routine, and then leave a couple of days later for another couple of weeks or a month. So she's the one that you probably need to get on here and have a real talk to about, because she allowed me to prioritize rugby.
One of the things that has come through really clearly on this podcast and in other conversations we've had with Graham Henry, with Richie McCaw, is that there is a degree of obsession. That in order for you to achieve, if you're looking to do something at a world-class level, you have to have some degree of obsession. And when you describe the early stages of your partnership, and fantastic, I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing, we're our independent people, that's all great. And then you have kids, and as you said, everything changes. Were you, the two of you, far-sighted enough to negotiate that in advance? Did you have, once you have the kids, did you all of a sudden have to go, oh, hang on a second, something has to get, the kid's sick, we have to decide, is it me going to play rugby, or is it you going to work on your PhD? Like, how did you negotiate that together?
Yeah, so I think the cool thing is Hannah was there for every professional game of footy I played. So it was something that we grew into. It wasn't like, hey, this is what I'm doing. What are you doing? Let's try make it all work and try fit the jigsaw pieces into the puzzle. So because we kind of both grew up doing it, things just evolved and changed slowly. And then when things started to accelerate, we kind of knew what we're in for. We'd been doing it a little while, and that probably made things a little bit easier. I think where it'd be really challenging is you get to a certain level and someone doesn't have any experience around what you're doing or how you're doing it, and then trying to come in. So I think we were very lucky in that respect. And we just talked. We talked the whole way, how can I help you? How can you help me? And at times we got it right, at times we didn't. But I think the biggest thing with that was just that communication, just being open, honest. Hey, look, let's get ahead on the calendar. Hey, I'm going to be away for these 3 weeks. What are you going to do? Okay, our youngest is 6 months old. Let's try get your mother down for a week, and then maybe have a week in the middle, and then my mother will come down for a week, and just take some of that stress away from just what it is to be a mother at home. Because I know for myself, when I was playing good rugby, it's normally because Hannah and the kids were settled. They were nailing what they needed to do, whether it was school, kindy, football practices and things like that. So when that was when that was taken care of, it was really easy for me to then just totally zoom in on what I had to do and just nail that. But when things were hard, it's normally because something was happening at home, someone was sick or not happy, and that just takes more energy and effort away from where it needs to be if you're obsessed with trying to achieve those goals or things you've set out to do.
That's so interesting. I'm curious about your experience as a captain and your observation of other players. Is that something that you found was consistent, that people would, how they were in their home lives or in their lives outside of sport, would feed into the way they were able to perform? And what kind of support, like how could you identify that, and what kind of support would you give people to make sure that they were settled in an area that has nothing to do with you so that they can perform in the area that's your domain?
Yeah, you're right. It's actually got nothing to do with you, but at the same time, it has everything to do with you, because if that person is not performing in their role, and when I say person, I'm talking about any role, not just the player. I'm talking about nutritionists, coaches, management, the whole lot, right across the board. So I think the biggest thing with all of it is watching. People's body language and behavior normally will tell you something. And when you spend so much time with a team traveling around the world inside hotels, you don't get a chance to get away. So you can actually pick up those little subtle differences very, very quickly when you spend a lot of time with people. And the better you know them, the quicker you can pick up on those things. And a number of times, I've been, in a form slump or whatever, and someone's seen it, identified it, got me in in the right timing and the right occasion to, hey, right, how can I help you? This is what I'm seeing. And that there definitely helps. And then all of a sudden you've seen it, you've had it done for you. So then you can go and replicate it for someone else. And just as you go through your career, you become more experienced, privy to more of those conversations. You've seen the positives that can happen when it's done really well. You've also seen the negatives when it's done not so well. So that's something that you can take and really use and put it into your own skill set to use when needed.
What's the difference? Like, can you talk me through what it looks like when someone does it well versus someone doing it not well? I'm not looking for, you to throw anyone under the bus.
No, no, not at all.
I'm wanting to understand what it would look like in practice.
The biggest thing that I've seen is when it's done really well, it's solution. So they're not worried about what the problem is. It's all about the solution. What is the thing that's going to stop it from happening again if it was a single event, or what is the way to make it smoother, more effective, more streamlined. I used to always get a little bit frustrated when we were training for too long, and I would always look and go, okay, how can we speed training up and actually give more time back to the coaches or to the players to work on something different? And the one thing that I'd always look at is from one drill to the next, are we going halfway down the field when we don't need to? Is that coach ready to go? So when that one coach finishes, bang, we're off. Are we Brown's cows meandering down there and we take 5 minutes to get there, or are we there in 4 seconds and we're there engaged? Yeah, we've done that part of the training, that drill, we're on to the next thing. So for me, I'd always look at that there and go, okay, how can I be more efficient as a team, as a person, as a player from bit to bit? Because if I said to you, hey, look, we're training for 2 hours, I said to a coach, hey, I can give you another 15 minutes of coaching time. Would you take it? And they all say, yeah, of course I would. I'd love it. How are we going to do it? And their first thought is, oh, we'll just train for 15 minutes longer. And you say, no, if we actually are more efficient from A to B, what we're doing, be really sharp and direct with our communication around what you want and how you want us to improve, all of a sudden it's so much easier.
What you just mentioned about feeling frustrated when trainings would go on for too long. Did you feel like as your career got bigger and as the demands on you got bigger, did you feel that tension of like, I want to be spending more time working on this stuff and I want to be spending more time in my family, and do I have that balance right? Like, how did that feel for you? And is there anything you would do differently?
No, I wouldn't do anything different. I think for myself and my personality, if there was something that I thought would help the team, I would go straight at it and have a skilled conversation rather than just saying, hey, this is terrible, this is terrible, this is terrible. I'm saying, hey, I think this here could be a solution and it'll give us this outcome. So it's actually kind of getting away from the whinging, the whining type comments. And I say that in a nice way because sometimes you need to listen to people and what is frustrating them, because you're only one part of the puzzle. It might be frustrating to you because you've been doing it for 10 years and you need to speed it up. But for everyone else, that might be a really key moment in the week that they need that time to get the clarity so they can go on and carry on and do what they need. So it's trusting your own gut, but then at the same time, it's being able to make sure that what you're feeling is actually what the whole team is feeling. If it's just you, the other 29 guys are not feeling the same, then you've just got to put up with it and move on.
Did you ever have a situation like, I love that your first thing is solutions focused. As you know, I do a bunch of training and facilitation for people on courage, empathy, vulnerability, shame. And one of the things we talk about when we talk about empathy is empathy misses. So empathy is connecting to the emotions that underpin an experience. And one of the biggest empathy misses, and one that inevitably gets people going, oh my gosh, that drives me wild, is fixing, is trying to fix things. Did you ever have an experience where you're like, okay, let's look at a solution, and someone's like, I don't want a solution, I'm just feeling frustrated right now? And how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I think it comes back to, as I said before, it's understanding the people you're working with. And when you're in a rugby environment, you spend a lot of time with each other and you're putting yourself not only under physical strain, but mental strain as well. So you're running around, you're doing your fitness and that, and then all of a sudden you've got to communicate and be clear, direct as an order, all those things that come with it. So physically you're tired, mentally you're fatigued because you're physically tired. So working out what people need, people reveal themselves pretty quickly. Okay, this person's going to do this under pressure and vice versa. They knew the same about myself. So when you get a really good environment and a good team, you can actually see where people are going. Is this going to help us or is it going to hinder us? And then you can kind of make a plan, make a bit of a system for when people do get into those states and actually manipulate it so that it does help the team rather than hold the team back or hold an individual back from what they're trying to do.
Okay, I have a bunch of questions. I think one of the risks of this conversation is because you and I have had many similar conversations.
Yes.
I am trying to keep in mind what is like for someone who is hearing this for the first time and making sure we're not assuming knowledge that's not already in evidence.
Yeah,
Very clearly. Okay,
I think
so
the
go
the
ahead.
key, the key thing with all of that, everyone's at different stages. So
Mm.
where I am now, like I'm 36 years old, so I'm still pretty young in the world sense, but as a rugby player, I've now retired. So played till I was 35, started when I was 3. So my rugby career, I was an older person and an older athlete. So I had so many different experiences. But the cool thing is, if you are that young person or that old person, there's so much there that you can unpack and look at and learn and grow and do it with. And you can get information from anywhere. So whether that's from talking to senior or experienced people, podcasts, books, real life experiences. There's so many ways to get information and go from there. And that's something that's so cool now with technology compared to where it potentially was when I first started playing.
You know, what you just said about getting information from anywhere is something that I have observed in you and experience from you, that you are such a relentless learner, a voracious learner. I remember our very first, the very first time we met, and you were telling me about your kind of some insights that you have about human behavior and human dynamics, that if you approach the ref straight on, you know, you're a big guy, that might seem intimidating, and so you were deliberate about kind of approaching side on and spreading your legs a little so that you would be a little bit lower down. Do you recall what first got you interested in that kind of human behavioral component? Like what sparked that curiosity and drive for you?
Yep. I got a smile on my face and I'm trying not to laugh too much because it was survival. And when I say that is, I'm one of 4 boys. There's only 5 years between all 4 of us. My 2 older brothers were bigger, stronger, and faster when I was growing up. I was a skinny little thing. There's a photo somewhere and I keep wanting to find it, but then I think about it, I think, no, I shouldn't. I'm holding a walking stick and it's pretty much, I think Mum wrote under the caption, the walking stick's holding up Samuel because I'm just so skinny and the stick's pretty much bigger than I am. But then my little brother, his nickname at school was Manchild. So he was bigger and stronger than me. I was the last one to beat Mum in an arm wrestle when we were younger. So I had to learn. If I got that body language stuff wrong, the 3 brothers would get a hold of you and do what brothers did, and you'd have the disagreement, and they would always win. So I learned pretty quickly to read some body language, especially from my brothers. And some of my greatest memories was winding my older brothers up and just getting them to a stage that you knew if you just touched them on the shoulder once more, they'd go and they'd chase you. And, it was all those fun games that brothers used to play and used to wind our parents up. But that was probably the start. And then as life goes on, have different life experiences and trial and error and see things and read things. And that's kind of where it's all gone. And I really enjoy, being in a room with all these different strangers and just see how everyone interacts. I think there's a test, I can't remember what it's called. You put 10 people in a room, but 9 chairs. And, what do people do? Do they stand up, give them a chair, or does the 9 people stay there? Or, how people interact and what their personalities reveal. So that's some stuff that I quite enjoy experiencing and trying different things. And yeah, quite a cool different thing compared to playing rugby.
Yeah, it's interesting because what you just described is a transition from how do I understand how to make sure I don't get beat up by my brothers, and potentially that allows me to beat up my brothers, to this kind of behavioral psychology of what happens. We got 10 people in a room and 9 chairs. And do you have like a time or a person who supported you in that, like, ooh, let's think beyond the, oh, if I pin him down in this way, he won't be able to escape, to more of like, what's going on? Why would people choose to pick this chair versus stand aside or whatever it might be?
I think it was just all trying to get better at what I was doing, and I
Mm.
was assessed with rugby and playing really high level rugby. So I knew that if I was dealing with the referee, I had to be really good at how I dealt with him, because if I got it wrong, the outcome might have been two extra penalties against us. That's the difference between winning and losing a game, or a bonus point, then that changes everything on the ladder. So for me, I always looked at that and wanted to go, right, how do I have a really positive influence um, in this time, in this moment, because it's going to have really big consequences coming out the other side. And sometimes, it might not be the difference between winning or losing a game, but it might be a little bit between your confidence going into the next game or your teammates around you. So there's so many things that I looked at, and it affected them in different ways.
Awesome. I want to come back to something else that you said, which is you made reference to the concept of clear, direct, and as a command. And obviously, the premise of this podcast is hunger and heart, intersection of wild ambition and fierce compassion. How can we simultaneously care for each other while striving for greatness in what we do? And I think, no one would struggle with clear and direct. Talk to me about as a command. Talk to me about that collection of phrases and where that comes from.
Yeah, so rugby, you are judged on 80 minutes, or 80 plus minutes. So if you win the game, it's pretty obvious to see it's up on the scoreboard in the ground. You either win or you lose. And when you're out there, you don't have time to give a big long explanation around what you need and why you need it. So, for example, someone's offside. You don't have time to say, "Hey, Harry, can you please take 3 steps because you're offside and we're going to get a penalty. If not, we're going to kick three, put us under pressure." You don't have that time, so you need clear, direct, as an order, as a command. So it's Harry, take a step. So it's using his name as a critical thing. Obviously, if he doesn't listen, you keep using his name. So there's heaps of little things like that that picked up through what you need in the moment when you don't have time to worry about um, the directness of your message. If you're at training on a Monday and it's clarity, that message is completely different to what it is 7:35 in a game. You need them to take that step to be onside. So it's working out what message has the most impact at that time. But where that comment comes from is heat of the moment. You do not have time to give a big, long, polite, use manners, communication. So it's more just move now.
Yeah. It's interesting in project management world, there's a model that talks about um, uh, transactional leadership versus relational leadership. And in times of crisis, transactional leadership is more effective. And in times of calm, relational leadership is more effective. And so, like you're saying, you're in the middle of a game, you don't have time, or like the ship is sinking. You're not going to be like, hey, should we all sit around and discuss our feelings about this? It's more like patch the hole, stop the leak, bail the water, whatever you need to do. And would it be what I'm hearing in you is that training time is maybe in parts of training time. I'm sure parts of training time you're simulating the being under pressure as you would in the real game.
Mhm.
But parts of training time where you have that times of calm, that's when you build those relationships such that when it comes time, clear, direct as an order, that is not coming as any kind of insult or, Sam being unduly demanding. It's more like this is how we operate in this context. Is it fair?
Yep.
Like I'm making up a story that the relationships you build off the field are what allow that clear, direct as an order to really have the impact that it has.
Correct. And that communication has to be the right communication. So if you tell someone to take a step and get onside and they're already onside, straight away that trust is put under pressure. So with your communication, it has to be spot on, but it has to be the right solution too. So as you say, the relationship that you build off field during the training allows you to have those harder conversations, that harder communication style on the field. But again, don't get me wrong, everyone is different. So the way I would talk to player A versus player B would be totally different, even in the heat of the moment. So you choose the right words at the right time, because sometimes you use the wrong words. And I've learned this from experience. It's actually more hindrance than it is helpful. So you've got to nail what people like, but also what get the best reaction. And sometimes you've got to circle back round after the game and explain yourself and say sorry and a few things. But normally, if they know it's come from the right spot, because you're trying to do the right thing by them and the team, they're pretty understanding.
I'm definitely not looking to you to name names here. Can you talk about when you've gotten it wrong? Like what's gone wrong?
Oh, there's heaps of occasions. And anyone that says that they've never had those occasions, hey, I got it wrong, they're lying. Or they're just not telling the whole truth, is probably a better way of putting it. The best thing with all of this is you've actually got to give it a crack. If you always try wait for the moment and, oh, the moment will come, it'll never come. You just got to deal with the moment that's right there in front of you. And that's one thing that I know for myself. Um, People probably let me grow into some of these roles more because I actually gave it a crack. They could see that the effort and the intent was there for the right reason. And because that was like that, all of a sudden it was easier to kind of apologize for things, because I was trying to do the right thing for the right reason. Doesn't mean I got it right all the time.
Yeah, often in my work, we talk about the difference between intent and impact.
Mm.
So, my intent was right, but the impact of what I said or how I said it might not have been accurate. Obviously, you came up in Super Rugby through the Crusaders. One of the things the Crusaders are renowned for is a culture of belonging. In my work, and one of the things that prompted this entire podcast is that I'll run a 3-day program on courage, and inevitably a day and a half in, somebody will say, look, I mean, you can empathize all you want, but at some point you have to get the job done, right? And my answer to that is always, well, you can empathize and you can get the job done. Have you had experiences with teams or coaches or organizations where they had that focus maybe a bit off, where the focus was like performance, not empathy or caring, and end up with neither? Or, has that been an experience of yours? Or have you just always been in this environment where it's like, nope, we care for each other. We're here to do the job. We show up and, it works.
I think there's a fine line. I think there's a difference between being best mates and, I've been in teams where you've got your best mates there. People get married, their whole line, is guys they've played with. Also, there's other guys there that their best mates aren't rugby players. So their 5 to 10 best mates are not in the team. Yes, they get along with everyone really well, but their best friends aren't there. And the difference that I'm kind of getting at is, you don't have to be someone's best mate to respect what they're trying to do. And, with a rugby team, sometimes there's 32 players. I think the Super Rugby is now, plus another 10 management. So you're looking at 42 people. Not everyone's going to get along. Not everyone's going to be best friends. Not everyone's going to keep in contact once everyone goes their own way. But there's a difference between respecting that person and being best mates, or potentially not respecting them. So that's where I think people probably get a little bit missed in it. They say, oh, we've all got to be really tight and best mates. I don't think that's quite correct. It's got to have the respect, and you've got to know when you step over the line. Is it too far or is it not? But it's understanding what that group needs at that time.
Was there an early coach for you who embodied the kind of philosophy that you've grown to adopt when it comes to your approach to rugby?
Um, yes and no. I think the one person that probably set me up really, really well, and I'm not saying this because he is my father, but is Dad. So, um, Dad, my brothers, we were just rugby mad. So at home, Christmas Day, we'd be talking about rugby. Easter, we were talking about rugby. It was just rugby, rugby, rugby. We were rugby mad. Yeah, we were mad on other things as well, but 99% of the convos will always come back to rugby. And the way he talked about it, the way we did things at home, we didn't know were different. So at times would be watching a Super Rugby game and the Hurricanes were playing the Chiefs or whoever it was that we were watching, because we used to watch every single game when you're younger. And, a line out and someone would be injured and Dad would be like, what are you going to do here? Oh, we'll do this, this, and this. Why? Oh, you do this, and or there's a penalty. Would you have a shot at goal or would you kick to the corner? Oh, we're down by 6 points, so we took the three, we've still got plenty of time. So it's just all those things that just allowed us to start thinking about the game. And it was never a chore or anything like that. It's because we wanted to do it. We wanted to talk about it. All of a sudden, Dad's not there. We're doing the same as brothers. We're doing the same thing with our friends. So we were just always talking about rugby and just spending time around it, playing it. All of a sudden, it's hey, I'm in that situation. Yeah, you're at school. Hey, we're down by 6 points. Okay, we need 7 points. Time's up on the clock. We'll go to the corner. We'll do this. You get the outcome you're after and go, oh, that makes sense. So all of a sudden we were training rugby without knowing we were doing it.
I love this story, and it's okay for it to be because he's your dad. That's totally fine. What I love about your story about him is what he was doing with you is from such a young age was not just having you play rugby or learn how to kind of physically hold your own against your brothers, but how to think. Like he
Yeah.
sounds like a real thinking man. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, Dad's always thinking of some plan for something or some little project he's got going on. So that was what kind of like set us up. But then as you go through any career, there's always these different people that have different impacts at different stages. So sometimes it's the same message you might have heard, but they've just told you at the right time. Their timing's spot on, or you're at a stage where, okay, I need some help because I want to get better at this area of the game, and that person just gives that right message, the right words. Sometimes they say the same thing, but it's slightly different. They have a different story that goes with it to make it just a little bit more real. And I've got so many coaches that have had a massive impact on myself through my whole career. Some of them only had for a little while, but I definitely held on to one or two of those little comments, those little things that at the time you're thinking, oh, that's quite cool. And you've just always hung on to it and you've used it the rest of your career. And sometimes you don't actually think about them until someone says and you go, oh, I heard that 10 years ago and this person said it and I totally agree with it. And oh, I'm actually been doing that for a long time. And you didn't really think of it until the subconscious mind is triggered into it and you're like, oh, that's right, that makes sense.
One of the coaches I know you've worked with a fair bit is Robbie Deans. And Robbie has made the comment often about the distinction between a champion team versus a team of champions. Have you had both experiences? And
Yep.
what is your observation of what makes the difference? What allows us to achieve that champion team versus just a bunch of individuals kind of individually doing their best? And it comes back to the comment you were making about, we don't have to be best friends. Okay, what makes the difference?
Yeah, so you don't have to be best mates, but that can help. That can help massively because I do know there's a lot of time spent together, and yeah, we're trying to read other people's body language and things like that too. But you also got to read your teammates. So I played a lot of rugby with Kieran Read and Rito. Used to call the All Black line out, I'd call the Crusader line out. So we would actually just be able to watch each other and not even listen to the call because you kind of knew what they were going to do. And it was all done on body language. If he was going to square up, I knew, right, I got to get there to lift him, vice versa. If he was a little bit more open, he'd come back to me or however it was planned that week. So what I'm saying is, even though we should be able to read each other and respect each other, we were very good mates. We spent so much time away from the rugby field playing cards. Our families are close and tight. The kids are the same age. So we spent a whole lot more time actually getting to know each other outside. So then it excelled it on the field. And I think that was one thing that meant we could actually pick up what each other was thinking or going to do before it happened. So the support would be there straight away rather than it being that half a second late, and that half a second is massive in those tight, hard games.
And was there anything that the coaches did differently in those teams that were more kind of team outcome focused versus the ones that were?
I think the coaches have always had a key role, but at the same time, if you are in a team and you think the coach is going to do everything, it's never going to work. You've got to drive it yourself. And I think when the coaches are driving things and the successful teams that I've been a part of, the coach is always driving things very, very hard. But at the same time, the players are driving it just as hard, if not harder. So there's no let up anywhere. But you got to understand when there's a time to step away and get away from what you have to, because you can't live in that space for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It just doesn't work. So I think that's probably the difference, is having both the coaches, and when I say coaches, I mean everyone, the coaches, management, physios, doctors, a whole lot. If they're driving it and the players are driving it really hard, all of a sudden everyone knows where they want to go, what they want to achieve, and they normally do it.
I want to come back to the comment you just made about sometimes you have to step away because you can't be doing it 24 hours. The first person that we interviewed on this podcast was John Kerwin, and he talks about performance care, about this idea of like, how do we care for ourselves so that we can perform? This is what I hear when I hear you say we can't do it 24 hours, sometimes you have to step away. Was that something you were always attentive to? Did your relationship with how do you care for yourself in order to perform grow over time? Can you talk to us about that?
I think that's something that I got better at, especially when I was younger, no children, doing a bit of study on the side. So everything is actually all about you. So if I wanted to stay an extra half an hour at training, I could do it. If I wanted to go do more rehab, I could do it. If I wanted to. So besides feeding myself and getting my university stuff done, it was all about me. All of a sudden, and Brad Thorne actually said this to me, he goes, when you have children, your game will go to the next level. And I said, why is that? He goes, you'll be more efficient with your time. And I was sitting there going, well, I've had all this time, it's just going to, kids that are going to take time away. But what he was saying is, you want to get home to see your kids. So you're going to get to training and you're going to be efficient. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, then I've got a gym, then I've got a meeting, then I'll do this, training done. You're going to nail it because you want to get home, you want to see your wife, you want to see your kids. And that's something that I think definitely accelerated myself because I just had to be more efficient rather than going, hey, I've got all day to do all these things. And it's the same thing as anyone used to say is, hey, you've got till the 31st of December to do this assignment. It's January 1. When do most people start it? They start at start of December? Where if you said, hey, you've got to have this done the 10th of January, you'd have it done straight away. So there's always those little tricks that you pick up from senior players, but Thorny was awesome in saying that, hey, look, it's going to be busy for you, but you'll play a lot better rugby because of it.
We come back to your kids. You mentioned that Hannah got to spend the bulk of the time with them, and you're kind of coming in. How did you deal with it when you would be coming home after 3 weeks away and the kids, maybe you're exhausted, maybe you've just, played a few tests and, and the kids are like, daddy, 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 how do you deal with that to show up for them in the way that they need?
Yeah, and sometimes it's tough because you're jet lagged. You think it's morning and it's night. So you're sitting there wide awake and the kids are asleep, and then you're trying to sleep because you've only had 2 hours sleep, and the kids are jumping on you going, Dad, get up, let's go do this. And you're like, oh, I've got to go to training in a minute. So it's, yet again, they haven't experienced me any different to being a rugby player. So they don't know what it's like for Dad to be at home every day of the week. It's kind of normal for them. I made sure that when I came home, I didn't always bring gifts, because I did hear from a few players that when you get home, the kids only want the gift. They didn't actually want to see you. They're, oh, Dad, what did you bring me? Oh, I bought you this. They take that gift and go to their room and play. And then you're like, well, I'm the one that I want to spend time with you. So someone said to me, try not to take too much home because they'll just expect that every time you're away. So yeah, when I do get home, I had some really good advice is make sure you just leave your phone in the car for the first 25 minutes. If you need to go do some rugby stuff after, you can go get your phone out of the car and carry on. If you're on the phone, stop 20 meters from your driveway so they can't see you, finish your phone call. So when you're in there, you're actually at home. And I think that's something that is easier talked about than actually doing it because we're all busy. We've all got phones in our pockets. You've got your emails, you've got your work stuff, you've got all this stuff on there. It's actually really hard to get away from it. But I try to live by that advice and just go, right, we'll leave it there and spend time with them. And after 15, 20 minutes, they'll actually go back to what they've been doing. Then you can circle back around and pick off what you need to.
What you're describing there is something that is for me a theme in what I hear you talk about regularly. And it is this idea, the way that it lands for me, the way that I translate it is this idea of presence. Um, I watched you a few years ago, score a try, which I know is not something that happens for you very often.
Yeah, thanks for rubbing that in. It's all good.
Yeah, well, because it's not your role, right? So I'm not trying to. Sorry.
No, I'm teasing you.
No, but so I watched you score a try with one time, and uh, it was when you have the whole big group of you, and you go smoosh across the line, and you all end up in a big pile, and then they have to go, was it a try or was it held up or was it not? I'm sure that's a very technical explanation that many rugby fans will be proud of. But anyway, so they go to the TMO and they zoom in on you and they're replaying it, super slow-mo, kind of going back what happened. And you had landed across the line and the ball had not been grounded yet. And then when they go through the TMO, what I watched happen, and they played it slow-mo on the screen, but it was almost like slow-mo in real life. The way that you did it was you just turned your wrist so gently and just placed the ball. And when I watched you do that, what I thought immediately was sometimes in a situation like that, what happens for us is we get a little frantic or ahead of ourselves, or did I get it? Did I get it? And you stayed so exactly in that moment to make sure that the job wasn't done until it was done. And I bring that up because it's so consistent with what I'm hearing you say about here's how I show up with my kids. I'm going to put the phone away. I'm going to be present. Here's how I make sure I'm leading the team well. I'm going to observe what this player needs and what this player needs, and they might need to be communicated with differently. Here's how I'm like that presence that you have. Is that something that you do consciously, or is that just how you are?
Um, I never had it put that way. I think it's just the way I am. Like I'm a competitive person, and sometimes if that's what you have to do, that's just what you have to do. So sometimes it's that you got to be out in front and lead. Other times you got to sit back and let someone else take that space to get the growth out of them because you're going to need them not only now, but you're going to need them to improve going through the season, their career, etc. So you need that ability to work out what is needed and how am I going to do it. And sometimes I don't have the answers, and sometimes you got to go find them. But I think that's probably just who I am as a person. I'm not sure why. It's just me, really.
Do you consider yourself a caring leader?
um, don't know. Never been asked that question before, but I care about the people, so I'd have to say yeah then.
Which leads me to, this is not a setup. This is my genuine curiosity, right? As you know, we work together on the Crusaders Leadership Program,
Yep.
and we do a bunch of Q&A sessions with the participants on that program. And the most common question we get all the time is, what do I do about my problem child? Like, I consider you to be a caring leader from what I know of you.
Yeah.
I've
I
never
used to be that problem child, so yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, I've never been led by you, but I consider you to be a caring leader. And so that question of if I'm a caring leader and I see these, I respect these people. I don't have to be best friends with these people, but I see them as human beings and I respect them and I want to make sure that they're set up off field so that they can perform on field, all of those kinds of things. And I'm combining that with my ambition to win a World Cup. What do you do with your problem child? What do you do with someone who is not performing? How do you deal with it?
Um, like it obviously comes down to the scenario and where they're not performing. Is it they're performing across some areas and maybe not one? I use heaps of different approaches. So sometimes it's that go and hey, train with them. Hey, look, you're not recovering well enough. Come do recovery with me, or wait till they start it and then you jump in there and go right. Let's see if we can do 5 minutes in the ice bath instead of two, and just encourage them that way and do it with them. Because if you're doing it and you're expecting them to do it, it's easier to do it with someone rather than like, okay, there's no one here. There's no camera. I can say I've done it. I'm just got to wait here for 5 minutes and just come out and go, oh, that was cold. So like, are you actually helping them do it? Are you helping them or hindering them? So that's how I'd probably approach it at the start. And then depending on my relationship with them, sometimes it'd actually be better a message coming from someone else, not myself. And that all comes down to age, personalities, cultural, all these different things that go into it. And when you've got to, I find that always the hardest thing is, hey, look, I've got to step back here and let someone else deliver this message because that's going to have more impact than me giving it. And at times I always found that hard because I'm like, right, I've just got in my head, I just want to go, I want to get into it and get stuck in. But could always go back to what's the best thing for the individual, because the best thing for the individual will be the best thing for the team. If they're operating at the highest level they can, the team's going to be better because of it.
Amazing. What I hear from that, I just want to reflect back to you the way what you're talking about lands for me. So that first thing I talked about already is this idea of presence. The second thing that comes through over and over and what I hear you say is what works. What works. And it doesn't matter whether it's you saying things in a different way or whether it's someone else delivering the message. That what I hear about what drives you is not, could I accomplish this, but more, what is going to be most effective. Is that fair to say? Is that something, again, conscious for you?
Yep.
Or
No,
something
that's pretty much it. One example, and I will use the name. So Israel Dagg, and he'll hopefully tell this story to someone. He loves praise. So he walks in the morning, you're like, hey, Izzy, you're looking good, man. You're looking sharp, and all those things, and just a bit of energy. And it's amazing how quickly he'll pick up on that energy, and he'll just replicate your energy, and he'll go through the day, and he'll just be bouncing off the walls. And that's what we needed from him. Where if you went in and, oh, hey, Izzy, oh, what's up? Your top's dirty and your pants are down around your backside, and you gave him that one there, he would take that emotion and he'd mirror it, and he'd just have a low, slow day. He's going to take a lot of energy out of the group. So it's amazing. You go, okay, something about nothing. Hey, mate, you're looking good. All those things. It actually would set him up to have a really successful day. Then he'd go from there. He'd have pass the energy on to someone else, to someone else, to someone else. All of a sudden, the whole gym has just got this massive amount of energy, and just the music gets turned up. People are training hard. The banter's through the roof, and everyone's just driving to be compared to at the start. Oh, is he? Oh, you're not looking that good, mate. You look tired. You have a late night. And just the opposite, the music gets turned down and a slow song gets put on, and it just takes away that gym session. Everyone's looking at, oh, I don't want to do this. So it's just working out who does what. And Izzy was always that guy. If you gave him energy, he'd give it straight back, and it would just amplify through the environment.
I love the accountability I'm hearing from you about, I have the option to feed Izzy in this way or that way. And if I feed him in this way, this is going to be the outcome. And if I feed him in that way, that's going to be the outcome. You said just a moment ago, I don't know if you were being facetious or not, that you were that problem child at one point. When you were that problem, if you were being facetious, what was that like? Who gave you that example for you to know that this is how I can show up and be accountable for other people's energy?
So when I say I was the problem child, I was so driven. So I was like, get out of the way. I'm going to sort this out. I'm going to go and play this amazing game. I'm going to do everything. I'll make every tackle. I'll carry every ball. I'll do the whole lot. Like, I'll even kick the goal if you need me to. So that was good to a point. But then, week one, week two, you're good. And then all of a sudden you're getting beaten up, getting tired, all those things. So I actually had to learn, right, for me to be that way, yes, it's good. Everyone will get in behind and follow, but at the same time, am I rising the tide of all the boats, or am I actually suppressing for myself? And that's one thing I learned is to get more out of the team. It's easier to get 3% out of everyone rather than 30% out of yourself. And you talk around those teams before, like champion teams, a lot of those players made everyone else around them better. So I was playing in this position, the two guys around me would be better. This person was playing in this position. So say he's a number 12, his 10 and his 13 all of a sudden just got better, and then starting to, make New Zealand sides or whatever, just go to that next level again. So, or is it the opposite? they're not passing the ball. Yes, they're making all these breaks in the game, but the people outside them are getting frustrated because they're not playing that well. So I always looked at it that way and going, right, am I making the people around me better? If I am, it actually makes my job easier because I don't have to do all this extra stuff. They're going to do it, then I can just worry about my role.
So obviously you've retired from rugby now and you're farming. What are some of the lessons that you've taken from rugby that serve you outside of the rugby world?
So much. But don't get me wrong, there's so much for me to learn around what we're trying to achieve with the farm. So there's so much there to learn. And it's pretty much, I grew up on a farm, but then I have this 15, 16 years of playing rugby and doing different things. Now going back. So I've got to almost relearn everything and learn all these other things that didn't know existed. Because when you're growing up on a farm, you're just doing the things you want to do really, or the things that your parents say, hey, can you help us with this? But you're never taking the lead. You're never going, right, in 5 years' time, this is what we want to achieve. You're not in that space. So really enjoying the challenges that kind of come from me entering back in as a new person to farming, even though I've got the family history there, just really enjoying the challenges that are there. But then still doing a little bit of coaching and stuff with rugby. So I haven't just walked away from rugby completely. Enjoying passing on some of the knowledge that I've been lucky enough to gain from some amazing coaches through my career. The one thing that I'm definitely finding so different to playing and coaching is playing, you can feel it. So in the scrum and the line-out, you can feel what's happening. So you're, okay, that lifter was late. I didn't jump early enough. That person was coming back in the scrum, etc. Coaching, you have to see it. You can't feel. So there's a whole element that as a player, you can feel it before you even see it. With now as a coach, you have to see it. So that's something that's a little bit different. Working at where to stand to see those things has been a cool challenge so far, and hopefully I'm passing on some awesome knowledge in the guys and girls that I'm coaching.
Amazing. Final question for you. Advice for your 15-year-old self. What would you tell yourself?
Listen to mum and dad, make your bed, do all those things, do your homework. So I started playing when I was 3 and I cleaned my boots before every game. So it was something that mum and dad kind of said to us, hey, look, if you're going to go and play, you want to show up and give it your best. So you got to look your best. And sometimes I always remember scrubbing these boots going, as soon as I get out of the car and put them on, I'm going to stand straight in the thing of mud and they'll be dirty. But what they were teaching me is take that time to be, just slow down, be grateful for what you've got, look after your gear, because that's going to allow you to play better. And it's something that I did for every professional game I played in, every game I played. I would always make sure my boots were clean. Playing on some of those amazing grounds, sometimes it was just a quick little rag, which would take 30 seconds and completely different to where it was at school when you're just playing in a big mud pit everywhere. So, yeah, it's something that we always did, and I'm sure my kids will do the same.
I love it. Setting those standards from just 3 years old. It's so beautiful. Perfect way to finish our conversation together. Sam, thank you so much. I've taken so much away from this conversation. The idea of presence, the idea of standards, the idea of accountability, the idea of adaptability. What do different people need in front of me? And over all of it is this idea of what's going to work? How do we get the outcome we're here for? Thank you so much for spending the time.
Easy. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. I am such a huge fan of Sam's, and I always enjoy talking to him. As I said at the end there, I love how present he is, whether it's grounding the ball in the midst of the chaos of a mall or leaving the phone in the car to give his total attention to his kids. That presence also shows up in how adaptable he is, how focused he is on what this person needs in this moment. And I love his commitment to learning and the way he combines that with this level of self-awareness. He's just so focused on what will work and how he can be better. And I just feel like I learn so much from him every time I talk to him. Thanks again for listening. Please do let me know your feedback. You can reach me on hello@kylacolbin.com. And of course, like, subscribe, follow. I am grateful for your offerings to the algorithm gods. See you next week. Hunger and Heart is brought to you by the Crusaders Leadership Programme. Whether you're coaching under fives or a professional team, we all want the same thing: to build a culture of trust, to get the best out of your people, and to grow players into leaders. The Crusaders Leadership Program lets you get up close and personal with some of the greatest rugby legends of all time. People like Sir Wayne Smith, Sam Whitelock, Kieran Read. You'll connect with a global group of ambitious, caring coaches from a range of codes and backgrounds. And most importantly, you'll gain skills and techniques to drive impact and outcomes for your team. The Crusaders Leadership Program is a 2-week, high-intensity virtual experience. It is delivered exclusively online, accessible from anywhere. Hunger and Heart listeners get 10% off the full price of the program. Use the code HUNGER at checkout. You can find out more about the Crusaders Leadership Program at crusadersleadership.com. That's crusadersleadership.com. Hunger and Heart is created by BOMA and the entire BOMA team, including Tito Bernal, Ray Jangle, Hannah Hudson, Johanna Coxon, Sunil Unka, and me, Kyla Colbin. Thanks for listening.